Hey Auto Squad, producer Dylan here, wrapping up our re-release series of Spider-Man Miles Morales with our Extras and Easter Eggs episode. This first came out back on August 25th, 2021, and we get immediately off track talking about the classic television show reboot. We air out all our frustrations with difficult puzzles, and we come head-to-head with another classic Spider-Man villain. So thanks for listening and enjoy this episode of AutoSave.
Welcome to another episode of AutoSave. I'm Nick Andrade here with my co-host Camille Salazar Hadaway, and on this episode of AutoSave, we wrap up our dive into Spider-Man Miles Morales as we cover the remaining side quests and anything else we missed in the game. The story is done, but there is still so much to explore. Cam, how are you doing today?
I am preparing for some waterworks. After the last episode, I'm probably all cried out, which I thought I was cried out before. I'm playing this so often, but no, there's still tears in those tear ducts of mine.
I can honestly say that I might have cried a little bit again while researching this episode again, watching these side quests over again. Because you forget a little bit. Like, we played this game pretty recently, but just to refresh my memory, and there was a point where just a still of something made me a little bit emotional because it was something pretty good. But this game in general really tugs on your heartstrings, and it has since the beginning, because again, it's one about family, and two, it's very, very relatable.
Yeah, it definitely is. You talked about it before, but that human element, Insomniac, you're just so good at it.
So good. Well, this episode, it's a little different than normal. Normally, we give you a theme of the episode. We tell you, how it relates to the game, and we wrap it up at the end with a nice bow and talk about, redemption or betrayal. But this episode has no theme because we're just trying to get through all the side missions, all the things that we've missed or you might have missed in case you are looking to get that platinum trophy. And now side quests, they are a mainstay of this game, but most importantly about this side quest, they aren't that repetitive, and they bring something new and exciting in each, which honestly in most games could be tough, right? Like, I know especially from experience, like Assassin's Creed especially, that game has the most repetitive side quests. Or like if you're farming in like Red Dead or something, you need something a little different, and this game has it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So let's start these side quests and let's break them down. We're going to start right in this segment. And most of these side quests, they come from the Friendly Neighborhood app, where people are asking you for help. And the first one we're going through is called Looters, with an exclamation mark, Looters. And that is unlocked after the Harlem Trains Out service mission with Uncle Aaron, when you first, where he first tells you, or he understands and realizes that you are Spider-Man.
Spider-Man!
Hey, right here.
What? Not you, my cat. Named after the real Spider-Man. Bunch of jerks broke in here and robbed my place. Think they took Spider-Man too.
That's awful. You see where they went?
Overheard them say they're hitting the power substation. Couple blocks over.
I'll find them. And your cat.
Sure, kid. Guess it can't hurt.
So Teo seems a little bit crazy, and he also named his cat Spider-Man, which I love, but also which is hilarious at the same time.
Well, it's after the real Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which is so insulting as the new quote Spider-Man in town to just someone say the real Spider-Man so aggressively to you. It's like, hey, I'm just trying my best.
Teo legit hates this kid. He's like, who is this copy Spider-Man guy? He's like, all right, I guess you can help me, but you probably won't, do well because you're not the real Spider-Man.
Yeah, but I feel like this is pretty truthful. I feel like once you have heroes in the world, if it was the real life, people would be naming their cats and, dogs or whatever after them. Hey, I mean, I named my dog Enzo after Enzo from Reboot.
Oh.
So, I mean, I completely understand calling a cat Spider-Man.
Cam, I don't know. I got to talk about this for a second, but Reboot, my God. One, a Canadian staple, but two, what a freaking show that was. Just Bob and Dot and everybody.
It was about a computer the whole time.
But hey, no, you know what? I'm gonna get into this. Enzo, little boy Enzo, and then hunk man Enzo.
He was so hot. I think he was my first crush, other than Green Ranger and Trunks from Dragon Ball. And then, you had Tuxedo Mask. There was just so many cartoon guys in my life. It was a thing.
I'm not sure. I can't think of any off the top of my head, like girl crushes from shows. Kimberly from the Power Rangers, obviously.
Yeah.
That was probably my first love.
Yeah.
But in general, I don't know. Oh, you know what? You know who I have a crush on from Reboot? Hexadecimal.
Really?
Yeah.
She was
She's like,
crazy.
yeah, but she's got that crazy vibes where you're like, hey, I kind of want to get to know you, you know?
That's true. That's true. We talked about redemption arcs last time. Hexadecimal, really good redemption arc. Actually.
Really good one.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just geeking out on Reboot because not a lot of people know. But
If you get that reference, tweet us and let us know.
yes, please do. But Looter, you basically got to help Teo find his cat, and it's pretty straightforward. You got to go to an underground hideout where the robbers are. Robbers, they're not really robbers, or they're maybe mafia guys because they're not the underground, but they are in the underground is what I'm trying to say. You follow Spider-Man the cat around, you activate some generators, and you give Spider-Man finally back to Teo, who starts to accept you as the new Spider-Man. So you got you got in his good books after rescuing Spider-Man.
Yeah, you know that meme with like two Spider-Man looking at each other and pointing? That's pretty much what this episode is, because you have the cat Spider-Man and then the real Spider-Man, and they're just like, hey, you're me. You know, like what?
I get really confused because, you know, he keeps saying Spider-Man, but I'm not really sure what context he's saying Spider-Man. So I'm not sure if he's talking about the cat or is he talking about Spider-Man or if he's talking about Peter Spider-Man. There's 3 Spider-Mans in this situation. So it gets really confusing.
That is true. But the best part about this mission is the fact that you carry Spider-Man the cat Spider-Man in your backpack. And this is just such a random side mission. Like, side missions are like supposed to be random, right? They're not really.
Yes.
Sometimes they contribute to the story, but it's just like some random things. It gives also developers a lot of creative freedom to kind of put whatever story arc that's there. And I feel like there was a developer that's like cat crazy, probably has like 10 cats, cat lady or man, you know, and it was just like, I need to find a way to put my cat in this game, modeled Spider-Man the cat after their cat. And that's why we have this mission.
100% agree. Now, are you a cat person or a dog person?
I am a dog person. However, my partner is a cat person. He loves cats.
Ooh, so how does that work?
So we watch his family's cats every once in a while. But I'm trying to adopt a dog right now. So we'll find out how it works. You know, cats are cool. This cat is pretty cool. Spider-Man the cat in photo mode. I took so many pictures of Spider Cat.
Did you go around and use your camera a lot? Because that's something that I don't do as much.
Oh, I did. Especially, we'll talk suits later, but in certain suits, like especially when the sun was setting and you're high up, I was trying to recreate, in Into the Spider-Verse, where you have Miles falling down and he's kind of like falling head first into the city. I was trying to recreate that. I about have like maybe 25 photos that are very unsuccessful recreations of that moment. But yeah, I love photo mode.
The only time I use photo mode, I took pictures of places that I've actually been in New York.
Oh, cool.
Like the hotels I've stayed at or the Airbnbs I stayed at, because I like to know like, hey, I've been there and it's in this game. Amazing.
Oh, that's cool. But no pictures of Spider Cat, huh?
No. Back to our conversation. I am not a cat person.
Ah, dog person.
Cats kind of creep me out. And my brother has a cat. Her name is Regina.
That just sounds bad. Regina the cat, like mean girl vibes, the attitude that cat has.
Yes.
Just can't imagine.
I'm just afraid of, getting clawed at, or like when they go, meow, and they like, I get scared when they do these things, but the cat kind of likes me because I look like my brother. So she gets confused and thinks that I'm her owner, but I'm not. And I don't like cats.
She's probably having that Spider-Man meme moment whenever looking at you two in a room together.
Yeah.
She's probably like,
Hey.
They're both the same. What's going on? But yeah, my whole thing with this cat quest, and I know like we'll move on from this. We're not just going to talk cats all episode, although we could. That'd be cool too. How does the cat stay in the bag so comfortably. Like Miles is swinging upside down. We see throughout the game how clumsy looking, or, Miles is, especially at the start when this mission becomes available. How is this cat not like upside down, not meowing a lot out of anger?
I have an answer for you, because it's a cat. And the cat is probably comfortable in there. Again, they have 9 lives. They jump from buildings and survive, okay? Because they're so light on their feet. So 100% the cat is using her claws, or he, I don't know if Spider-Man is a he or she, digging in and holding on for dear life, and is cool with it. Probably like, wow, what a nice breeze. If I fall, I'll probably catch myself anyway, so it's all good. So this cat's having just the best time.
Quality spider cat right there.
Yes. That leads us to the next side mission, which is Harlem Feast Shutdown. You unlock this after the crazy mission on the bridge, as Feast water supply is shut down. So you go and investigate. You find out that maybe some bad guys are tampering with the water supply because they want Feast and the people inside to move out of the building so that they can take it for their own. Which is, first of all, how are you going to try to, destroy a homeless shelter? Well, I'm not surprised, because Simon Krieger tried to kill a whole of Harlem to get a new city built. So of course these guys are assholes.
Yeah, you just do what you need to do. Don't care about the human element, which I would say in this mission I actually really enjoyed because of the human element of the game. And we talked, Insomniac's just really good at that. But when you have to actually go around and find clues to what's going on, and you're at the Feast shelter and you're walking around and you're trying to eavesdrop on people, I enjoyed that. The only thing was, I wish it wasn't so limiting. I wish there was more of a space that you could kind of explore. It was kind of like they had you loop around in the park, right? So you only had one way to go. So you kind of knew exactly who you needed to talk to. I wish it was just a bit more complicated than that.
I think maybe they really went through a lot of Feast stuff in the first game, that maybe they decided, let's make this a little shorter. And maybe it's also a sign of the times, like in Toronto or somewhere else, where a lot of these places are shutting down and condos are being built. I think that, again, Insomniac has a lot to say about the times right now, and I think that's part of it as well. But I wanted to mention this mission specifically because this was one of my most frustrating missions, because you had to deal with water pumps and valves and shutting and putting back the water supply on after you defeat a few goons. And there was one pump specifically. The other two were different, but there was one specifically where there's a gauge and you had to get it in to the green part of the gauge to make the water pressure go down. I had no idea how to do this. And I spent 20, 30 minutes trying to figure it out, because I just I unscrewed it. That's it.
Yeah.
And you have to get the water pressure down. I didn't know that. So after 20, 30 minutes, I finally decided that I need to go online and check to see how it's done. I admit it. I did it. And it was very simple, but I just didn't know how to do it. And I'll admit, sometimes I'm just not good at these things, especially if they're puzzle-based. And this is not puzzle-based by any means, but it's close enough. And I struggled.
You know what this is, Nick? It's a case of water levels. Okay, water levels are the worst in video games. I would qualify this as a water level, although there's not that much water. It's just the pipes. But I'm going to qualify it as this because I had the same issue as well.
Okay, good. I'm not the only one.
You're not alone. I feel like it was like the first two, maybe how they explained it, or I don't know. Like I completely missed how to do this as well. I think it was like after maybe the third one, I was like, oh, this is what's supposed to happen. But it was definitely difficult just because it either was not explained well or I completely glazed over the instructions.
A lot of times I don't listen to instructions, or I don't when the tutorials happen, I don't learn most of the time. Especially if they tell me like, oh, here's a new combo. I normally don't go back and read it. I just use the same thing over and over. But this time specifically, I know they didn't explain it properly. So it's not my fault. It's Insomniac's fault. Okay.
Insomniac, this is your fault.
But yeah, so you basically do that. You have to beat some more bad guys, turn on the valves, save the day. And it lets Feast live to see another day, which is good. You're helping the community. That's the most important thing. Again, with the third mission here, the third side mission, you are helping the community. Again, this one's called Robbers Target Local Biz. You talk to Caleb. You find out that they have kidnapped family friend Camilla, which, come on, I don't know what's going on here. They're trying to shut down more businesses, and obviously Miles has to protect them. So It's very straightforward. You just have to do some more fighting. You have to rescue Caleb and Camilla's business, and that's what you do. Again, some of these are very straightforward. You just gotta fight a bunch of bad guys.
Yeah, I was surprised that there was so much kidnapping in this game in terms of like,
I know.
just for the shop owners, it really, usually when we look at Spider-Man and the world that New York, that fictional New York it's built in, it's very light, it's not dark, but I feel like here, this is exposing some of the dark aspects of that New York that we don't usually like to see, like to have these mob bosses like pretty much just be like, hey, you got to pay your dues or your business, and they're just like going after poor Camilla who's kidnapped. It's very interesting. I actually like this too, this mission, because at the beginning you have to do your investigative skills. You got to really use them and pull them out of your back pocket. So I enjoyed that because they had the crime scene where Camilla was kidnapped and you have to camouflage to avoid the police because, police, they don't like the Spider-Man and you got to kind of find the clues to send Miles on the right path. So I like that.
This gave me some Batman detective vibes
Yes.
as well. It's very similar to that kind of movement in that game. But I noticed this at the end. You don't really rescue Camilla. You find some things, and then all of a sudden she's there, and I was kind of confused by that.
I know. Was Camilla in on this? Is Camilla a part of? Was it staged? We'll never know.
Maybe they were just trying to get insurance money for their business because it was going under. And
Tough
he
times.
saves the day, and now Camilla is pissed.
Yeah.
But that's for another day, I guess. And that leads us into the fourth side mission. And this is probably the biggest one apart from Uncle Aaron's, which we did in the main mission parts because it felt like a main mission. But this one's called We've Got a Lead. And guess what? You meet back up with Haley.
Oh, I love Haley.
Genki said you could help me find the guys messing with Harlem. You followed them? It's dangerous. And brave. I'll go there.
I love this, just interacting with Haley, using sign language. It's so sweet.
We get a glimpse that I think there's some crushing going here.
Yep, 100%.
Miles I think adores Haley and her bravery.
If you notice too, at the end of that audio clip, he lowers his voice to try to act a little cool. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll help out." Like that is for any teen guy. Like when you were a teen, that you tried to lower your voice. Especially, I probably have a higher pitched voice. I always tried to keep it low. I tried to talk like this, and I think that's what he's trying to do.
All right, Nick's giving us the secrets.
Yeah. So we have to go and find out some information of what's going on. There's a weapons deal that's happening down in Harlem that you have to shut down. And as you go to one of their secret hideouts, I laughed because I want to mention that there's some weird dialogue going on with the guards.
Jimmy not to eat that yellow
You're done.
snow.
Heard the boss is getting desperate. Threatened to choke Brian the other day.
So Jimmy ate some yellow snow and is not looking too hot. First of all, Jimmy, I know guards and goons in these games aren't the smartest, but my friend, you can't be eating yellow snow.
I feel like that's rule number 1, Jimmy. Jimmy, why would the snow be yellow if someone didn't make it yellow? I mean, if Jimmy had maybe apple juice in his hand, maybe spilt it, and was like, "Oh, that's some yellow snow. It's pretty much like, some iced apple juice chilled. I'll eat that. That's different." But Jimmy, we know that's not the case. Someone urinated there. Just saying, Jimmy.
I won't judge somebody for eating white snow. I know that's probably not the greatest. There's some dirt probably. But you know what? If you're thirsty and maybe you're in the Arctic and you have no water around, you can eat some snow and get hydrated. I understand that. But
Fine.
if it's brown snow, if it's slush, if it's yellow, my guy, you got to stay away. I don't care how dumb you
Yeah.
are. That's rule number 1.
Yeah. Plus, Jimmy just needs help. Like, Jimmy, okay. Firstly, the only snow you should be eating is you sticking out your tongue and while it's snowing. Okay, that's the snow that you eat. You're not really supposed to pick up the snow off the ground. You don't know. And now that I'm curious, was this a dog that made this snow yellow?
Oh, God.
The possibilities are endless.
Oh, come on, Jimmy. You gotta do better. I hope it was apple juice. That's all I gotta say. But it probably wasn't. So anyway, you have to take out these guards. Jimmy is not there, obviously, because he's gone home sick. I wonder if they have paid sick leave. Probably not. But you have to go stealth. You go underground and you find out that these criminals are trying to control all parts of Harlem and shut down everything that gets in their way. So basically everything that happened with Feast, everything that happened with Caleb and Camilla, this is all leading up. I like this. These side missions are kind of together. They're all leading up to these criminals are actually trying to gain control of Harlem. And you find out that these criminals are actually being led by someone, and you find out who while you're doing it.
Can you help me run a hybrid attack?
Sure, but first try Vanessa.
Vanessa?
If this setup belongs to who I think it does...
What is this? Who are you?
Oh, crap.
Fisk.
A child playing dress-up, pretending to be Spider-Man.
I can sever the connection from here. Just keep him talking.
Fisk. I stop what you're doing in Harlem. You're done in my neighborhood.
Your neighborhood? How touching. You'll learn that when you cross me, the people you want to protect are the ones who suffer.
I love this. I did not expect this at all, but when I saw Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin, I was like, oh, it's about to go down.
Yeah, as soon as Genki was like spelling out Vanessa, I'm like, it's the Fisk with his fist. But yeah, I love that we kind of get this side mission to Kingpin, because at the heart of it, as a Spider-Man fan, if you're jumping in, you do also want to see familiar faces from either previous Spider-Man games or from other iterations of Spider-Man. So Kingpin is one of those villains that, with Rhino, that kind of has to show up.
I'm not sure if I'm right here, but Kingpin was the first mission of the first Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
And we don't really see him afterwards, right? He goes to jail. That's it. And then we see him again in this one. I feel like maybe they're teasing that he's going to break out of jail and have a part of what's coming up next. And that's why they teased him in here.
Yeah, and it would make sense too now that Miles kind of has this back and forth with Kingpin. Maybe Kingpin could be the next villain for Miles to handle. That'd be kind of cool.
Let's get into this right now. Sequels of this game. I felt that the next game is going to have both Peter and Miles as just the main characters. But you think Miles Morales will have his own game again?
This is going to be controversial. I feel that the second Spider-Man game, like Spider-Man 2, the next one we're all waiting for, I feel like something is going to happen with Peter. Either he's taken over by the symbiote. I like to throw in that Venom movie reference there. And that will have Miles kind of step up to the plate. That's what I think.
I didn't even think about that, but hell yeah.
I think you're going to have to play partially as Peter and as Miles.
Let's hit up Insomniac, because I think that if they haven't thought of this already, Peter symbiote, then he starts becoming like evil a little bit. And that's when Miles has to step up.
I feel like that kind of has to be like a big portion of the story. But if you even play for Miles for like a quarter of the game, I would be really happy. But I feel like we're going to see Miles in the next Spider-Man game. And I mean, Insomniac, if that's not the plan, you got to scrap what you're doing and just start from scratch again. Okay. You got to make Spider-Man 2 as I'm saying it.
The success of Miles Morales 100% has to be put in play here. So I feel like he's going to have a huge part. It's not just going to be Peter. If it is, that is pretty disappointing. After the break, we break down all the leftover missions, unlock some suits, and take a look at Easter eggs on AutoSave. Welcome back to AutoSave. We're done singing and we're taking a look at all the side missions and quests you could do with Spider-Man Miles Morales outside the main quests. In the first segment, we looked at all the side missions that you can do after unlocking it through main missions, but now we're jumping into side quests that you can only unlock after you finish certain objectives.
ESU, Hallowed Halls. my alma mater. Have I ever told you what happened when I started school here? Step up to the prompt and live the story for yourself.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
So final test is unlocked after you've completed all spider training hollow missions from Peter. We've talked about them before, but the 3 are combat missions, traversal missions, I can't say that right, and stealth missions. Combat is different skills that you must use to beat enemies. Traversal, of course, is where you have to swing around and hit checkpoints, and stealth is beating enemies without being detected, and those are usually the holograms. You need to get at least bronze tokens in each of these to unlock next steps. I think there's 3 levels of traversal, combat, and stealth. And then once you unlock all 3 with at least a bronze, you unlock this final test. But Cam, did you get gold on all of these, or did you just go 1-to-1 with bronze?
No, I got gold on all these as well. I actually had a lot of fun with these missions, and even just being pitted against the hollow vulture, it was cool again. To have that recognizable villain in Spider-Man lore, and you're kind of just going up against them, which completely makes sense because these are people Peter-faced, right? Vulture is someone Peter-faced, and it just makes sense with how Vulture fights that you need all those skills in order to really combat him.
It's preparing you for what's ahead. If you're not prepared, here's Vulture. Here's my first ever battle with somebody when I was a teenager, and this is how it went. And it's so cool too. It's like, this is the exact moves that he made. So I thought, like, I don't know how that's even possible, Peter. You are a genius, but man, that was incredible. But once you do that, it's a fairly simple fight, right? I didn't have any issues. I thought this was going to be really tough because I'm like, oh, this is the final test, and I had some issues with some traversal ones. Those ones, to get them in the time, I really struggled with. So I thought this one was going to be really hard, but it ended up not being too difficult.
I actually had to restart this fight, I think, once.
Oh, okay.
Just because I found when I was going against, like, because you have the 2 vultures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're in different parts or sides of you, and you have to like swing that way in order to really fully see them. So sometimes what would happen is I wouldn't swing high enough or be able to like thwip to a ledge and then just get knocked out by them.
It made you use all the things that you learned along the way, which I think is really cool. And that, of course, unlocks a suit for you, the Miles Morales 2020 suit, which is by far my favorite. I think I might have mentioned it in an earlier episode, but it's got some Daft Punk / DJ vibes. His mask is incredible. This is my favorite suit, hands down.
Yeah, I didn't like the suit either.
What do you mean you didn't like this suit? This was the best suit.
It's the high crop, like the crop jacket. Like, what is that?
It's like he's going down the street like, hey, look at me. Like, I'm the guy from Saturday Night Fever.
No.
Like, I'm John
No.
Travolta. I'm walking down the street. This is who I am. I'm Spider-Man.
And see, that was the problem there. They tried to integrate John Travolta into the Daft Punk universe, when really all they needed was Daft Punk.
I don't know how you don't like this suit. This suit is incredible.
How do you like this suit? I do like the helmet. I like the helmet, and also like the graphics on his, like the chest plate. It's like a screen kind of projecting his symbol. But it's just like the jacket is so bad. It's bad. It gives me like Michael Jackson bad video vibes.
Yeah, so how do you not like that? What the heck?
Because only MJ could do that. I'm sorry.
But just imagine, Bad is playing while Spider-Man is walking down the street. That's pretty badass, no?
Not like that. Not like that.
Next is Back to the Beginning, and it's unlocked after you finish all the sound sample missions from Uncle Aaron, where he leads you into his secret underground lair. And you use all the sounds that you collected.
Use the sounds. Frequency lock? Something new every day.
Hey, kid. Hope the suit fits. You asked why me and your dad stopped talking. He was investigating the Prowler. It led him to my clients, people like Simon Krieger, Wilson Fisk. Your dad couldn't afford to make enemies like that. Not with you and Rio in the picture. So I told him. Hoped he'd back off, and he did. For good. He didn't want me around. Didn't want you to turn out like me. Hope this suit helps you be better. Take care, Spider-Man.
Thank you, Uncle Aaron, for everything.
Well, there you go. You get a little backstory here. And you also unlock the Prowler suit, which is awesome. But going back to the backstory, you find out a little bit as to the reasoning why Miles' relationship with Uncle Aaron is a little strained.
Yeah. The only good thing Uncle Aaron gave Miles throughout this whole game was that Prowler suit. It's called the Purple Rain suit, obviously a nod to Prince as well. I loved this suit so much. Were you a fan?
Huge fan. I'm not a fan of the color scheme of the Prowler, the green and purple in general, but this suit was really badass, and I was like, oh crap, this is next level suit right here.
It is next level.
I wanted to mention too the sounds off the top, like that couldn't create an actual track. Altogether, it sounded weird. It did kind of sound like a Fatboy Slim song, but I don't know. You can't use all those beats together. I think Miles wouldn't do a song like that. Just saying.
Yeah, it's good for like maybe, like a sample, just for a little 30 seconds. That's all you need. A little more is too much of that noise that was supposed to be music.
That moves us on into Matter Up, which again isn't a side quest, but it is something that you unlock after you complete all of the Roxxon labs and underground hideouts. You actually unlock a really cool suit that is the programmable Matter suit, and that you get from the underground. And I really like this suit too because it looks really robotic and futuristic.
Yeah,
and it lights up.
Nick, I don't like this suit. I really don't like this suit. It's just like if you broke a bunch of mirrors and then you're trying to put it back together, so you glue it together, but it never looks the same, right? Like if you have one mirror and it shatters and you're picking up the pieces, gluing it together, that's what the suit is. And then you just throw the Spider-Man symbol on it. I did not like this at all. This is one of those suits that I was just like, never, ever wearing this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you are hard to please with these suits, huh?
I know what I like.
First of all, I'm just happy it's not purple. That Finn didn't make this thing purple and it's actually red. So that's a first. But it looks like body armor. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just weird. Let's move on. I don't like the suit.
Yes. Okay. Then we move on to Memory Lane. And once the main story is completed, you unlock this quest, which is a scavenger hunt for postcards that your mom put together. These are voice recordings from your dad to give you more of an idea of a great role model he was. And it unlocks, once you finish this, it's pretty quick, you unlock a special cutscene.
This is it. C.J. Walker Park. Beneath the hoop, where you learn to fly, your journey comes to an end. Man, so many memories.
And so we come to the end. C.J. Walker Park. Remember when we played ball here in the summers? Your uncle showed you how to take it to the rack. Well, I demonstrated how to throw it down with authority. Don't think I'll ever forget watching you and Finn trying to alley-oop to your mom. This place reminds me that as crazy as life gets, only one thing really matters. The people you love. You, your mom, Finn, Genki, even your uncle. Keep the folks you care about close to your heart, and you'll never go wrong. Happy birthday, big man. You are my reason for being brave.
Not ready for that.
I wasn't ready for that either, Miles.
Neither was I. It gets me every time. It honestly does.
That dialogue was so well written. My God. It just it tugs at your heartstrings. Anything, I don't know why, anything that has to do with a father-son relationship in movies or video games gets to me. And I have a great relationship with my dad. There's no baggage there at all. But for some reason, as I get older, that kind of relationship gets to me. And what he says to Miles, Man,
Yeah.
can't get over it.
Especially knowing what Miles has been through, right? And I feel like that's something, like, we know Miles's father isn't there, Mr. Davis.
Jefferson.
I can't call him Jefferson Davis now. No, I can't take it seriously like that. But, we know that he's not there. We know what happened in the events of the previous Spider-Man game. But throughout this story, like, aside from Rio, like, trying to encourage Miles occasionally, you really don't know how Miles is dealing with the loss of his father. And you get a true sense of that through this side mission. So when you hear Mr. Davis's voice, like, you're caught off guard like Miles. And then you just kind of fully listen to the words that he's saying.
This is also somewhat like closure for Miles.
Yeah.
He never got to say goodbye to his dad, and I think actually he left you something, and you get to say goodbye on your terms. So it's just, this game is just so good with family relationships.
It is so good at it.
We're going to move on to something more fun loving, and that's Cat's pajamas, and it is a suit with Spider-Man the cat you unlock after the main story, and as long as you completed the side mission with Teo and figuring out what was going on with his bodega, you get this suit. And this, again, love this suit with the cat, and the cat actually has a Spider-Man mask.
Yeah.
It's so cute. And if you don't like this, Cam,
look, I can't argue with a cute cat in a Spider-Man mask. Okay, like, this, actually, I loved this suit. I actually defaulted to this suit quite often because it gave me the vibes of Into the Spider-Verse, when Miles is just starting off there and he's wearing his hoodie with his shorts and then his tights under. And pretty much this is how I dress. I just need now a cat in a backpack. That's how I dress all the time with the mask and everything.
that's how you roll.
Right now, as we're recording this, I'm wearing a mask as I'm talking.
She is. I can say that 100% with conviction.
Yeah.
This is basically all the neighborhood side missions. Once you finish all those, you actually get a little thank you, a small postcard from the citizens of Harlem thanking you for all your help. And you unlock a new suit, which is nice and gold. But once you get that note, there's actually a mural right next to you. It's a giant Black Lives Matter mural. And you unlock this suit, which is the Uptown Pride suit. And wow, I can say what a tribute, Cam. What'd you think?
Again, this game is just so aware of what's happening in the world. So when I first played this game, kind of when it initially released, this was just so touching. I have a lot of photos of Spider-Man in the Uptown Pride suit in front of that mural.
It's something, I don't know, especially with video games, no one really wants to take a stance on things.
Yeah.
It's always about, having an adventure, having fun, breaking away from the real world. And this one really just takes it home, and it's not afraid to show a message. And I think that's super important. And seeing that, I was really touched by it.
Yeah, same here.
That's everything, though, other than there are many other suits, and you unlock them through obviously doing little side quests here and there, getting coins, building them up. You unlock more. So I'm going to ask you, now that you don't like most of these suits, which suit did you like the best?
It would definitely be the Into the Spider-Verse suit with the mod added on. So when you add the Into the Spider-Verse mod on that suit as well, you get that whole like animation style of Into the Spider-Verse, which kind of interrupts from like some of the cutscenes and like the...
It does.
Yeah, because when you're wearing these suits, you're wearing these suits in the cutscenes as well. So it kind of messes with that for some of these side missions.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do love even like the POW that you're getting from
it's super cool.
The mod as well. It's super cool. So that's the one I had a lot of fun with. And then my other default one was the Cat's Pajamas suit.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
I liked to, every time I got a new suit, I would use it until I was bored of it. But obviously the Spider-Man Miles Morales 2020 suit's my favorite, even though you hate it.
Sorry.
But there's just so many here that I like. Sorry, I don't like the original one that Peter gives him, obviously.
Oh yeah, that was trash.
But even the one with Tim's, he has sunglasses on.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my favorites is the one where he has a scarf and
yes, the winter suit
and a toque. Yes, the winter suit, because again, Christmas.
Yes,
I love it.
I actually did switch to that suit for like the Christmas scenes.
Okay.
So yeah, Yeah, I love that one. Haley is really good at giving gifts.
She is, and maybe she'll be in the future for Miles since he has a little bit of a crush, like we said.
Crush there. There's a little crush there. I can't wait to see, like, whenever we see Miles next, what suit he'll be wearing.
Ooh, yeah. I hope it's obviously his original suit. His black suit's awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to see a little bit of an upgrade to that.
Yeah.
Maybe even some different colors. Big sec. I don't know.
Anything, as long as it's not the 2020 suit.
Oh, I hate you so much. Okay, that's it for side missions. Let's move on to Easter eggs. Things that you might have missed under your eye. These aren't things that you can unlock or whatever. It's just things while you are going around New York. I'll start first. On one of J. Jonah James's podcasts, he mentions Spider Pig. And he asks, is Spider Pig even possible? Well, yes, J. Jonah, he is. There actually is a Spider Pig in the multiverse. We've seen him into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I love that one as well. The next Easter egg was you could actually visit Ben Parker and Aunt May's grave in Harlem, which, man, that was depressing. Why did I get that one?
I'm giving you all the bad ones. No, I'm kidding. But, honestly, until you mentioned it a few weeks ago, when we were recording, I completely forgot that Aunt May was dead.
Yeah.
I still thought she was alive, so god dang it.
Yep. This game just taking everyone away.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The next one here, this one is also a little bit sad. This is right outside Mick's Diner where Peter and Mary Jane like to go. There's a giant statue of Stan Lee, who in the game is Mick.
Yeah.
He actually made a cameo in the first game before his passing, and they did a nice little nod to him with a giant golden statue. Loved this one.
Yeah, I love when they're able to fit in those Stanley cameos, even when he's not here with us. It's just great. What a great legacy. Okay, the next one is one of the time capsules you find from Finn's side quest is a Wakanda flag. Yeah. You could also find the Wakanda embassy in New York. That's really cool. As well, because I just love whenever, you're in these games or these worlds and they're able to tie it to the other lore that shares like those universes. So that's really cool.
It's like there's obviously the Avengers Tower that's in New York. I like to climb that one every chance I get. But this one I just stumbled upon randomly.
Yeah.
I was just swinging across and then I noticed a Wakanda flag and I went down and I'm like, oh crap. See the embassy. I didn't know what it was, the embassy. I had to Google it. But I'm like, oh, that's a really cool nod. Also, in the mission where you meet the Kingpin, like we talked about earlier, in his giant vault of things. I don't know if there's like gold and frankincense in there, but there's a painting of his love, Vanessa, which of course was also the password to get into the computer, like we talked about. He really loves Vanessa, but we don't really ever get to see much of Vanessa, do we?
No. We don't. Only in Into the Spider-Verse we kind of get that scene of what kind of happens to her. But yeah, we don't usually see Vanessa that much. It kind of reminds me of Mr. Freeze and his kind of backstory with the love of his life and really trying to, what's right. All right. So during the main mission, Tinkerer Tailor Spider Spy, what a name, you find a terminal that has inactive missionaries for hire. And one of them is Black Cat. And the second is Tombstone. And the third is of the Prowler. And this is obviously before the Prowler is the Prowler. So it was a great little, I guess, foreshadowing of what's coming next.
Oh, yes. Of course, we mentioned Peter and Doc Ock. We mentioned them before in the Science Center. But is there anything else that we're missing, Cam?
I feel like there's so many Easter eggs in this game. Like we've talked about the Insomniac logo with the rhino through the mall. Avengers Tower was probably my favorite because then I was just trying to take so many photos falling next to Avengers Tower.
I wish some people came out or like maybe Thor came out or something, or like a beacon, like you said, or like a helicopter that goes down onto the helicopter landing, but you don't see who it is. Like, I wish there was just more than just the building.
Sorry, I like it just being all about Miles. I don't want to see any other heroes.
Well, we don't want, especially there's an Avengers game. Like, is it in the same universe? Is it canon? All this stuff. Like, I don't know. Just move forward. I have no idea.
I agree.
But then there's also the end game cutscene credits that you get at the end of the game, which maybe sets us up for the next one.
Yeah. You see Harry. Well, you see Norman Osborn from the perspective of who we assume is Harry Osborn, because as we know in the last game, Harry went for treatment, if that's what you want to call it. So it's kind of teasing that, in the end of the first Spider-Man game is leading that Hobgoblin or Green Goblin is going to make an appearance in the next game, just because how they're focused on Harry's story and Norman Osborn. So I really like that nod that like, even though this is Miles Morales was kind of like this in-between game outside of what happened in the first game, they're still finding a way to connect us back and getting us interested and hyped for what's to come.
And Insomniac doesn't shy away of these friends and family relationships. So this is another family that is going to get involved most likely, and it'll make us cry probably again too next time. But that's everything you need to know, at least to get caught up on Miles Morales. If you're trying to get that platinum trophy, just make sure you get gold on everything. It's a little bit tough, but you'll get there, especially with combos and whatnot. But after the break, we give our final rating of this game on AutoSave. Welcome back to AutoSave, and it's that time. We wrap up the whole of Miles Morales and his saga with a bow, like we've been saying 3 times already, with a bow, and we give our final rating.
Final rating.
That is so cool.
That's my voice, if you didn't know.
Oh my God, is it?
Yes, I used a lot of audio effects. It's a lot lower than normal, but
That is so cool.
we wanted to give our final ratings in parts. So we're going to go through this. We're going to give our overall score at the end, but we have a few categories that we want to give in. And those are action, emotion, gameplay, story, dialogue, graphics, and entertainment enjoyment. I maybe went overboard and didn't confirm with Cam if she wanted to do all of these, but that's okay. We'll do them anyway. So let's start. For action, and I'm doing this with a theme here, which is all Spider-Man relating things. So out of 5, and we're going to give action out of 5 Aunt May bedtime explosions from Spider-Man 1. What would you give this out of 5 for action?
Ooh, see, this is okay. So the action, I feel like we've kind of been on the same steady path throughout the game for action. Really, the final boss is what really stands out to me. And maybe the second fight with Rhino. So because of that, I would say the action kind of falls flat compared to everything else that we're going to rate this game out of. It's pretty steady. It's pretty easy. It's pretty straightforward. You know what you're going to get yourself into. And there may be some hiccups along the way, but for the most part, you're going to have a breeze going through this game. So for that, I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Okay.
For the action.
I thought you were going to say, and for that, I'm out just like in Shark Tank. But I agree with you in every sense of this. I think the action is the thing that falls flat a little bit. There's a couple times, like the Rhino fight in the beginning, which really gets your adrenaline going in terms of fighting, but I don't think it's all there. Yeah. And I'm trying to think, like, if we give these things harder ratings than normal until we find an absolute game we love completely and give everything 5. But I'm going to be a little bit on the same page as you.
We got to be tough.
Yes. I'm going to give it a 3. I'll give it a half point more.
Oh, you're just trying to show me up.
No, not at all. I just, you're giving it tough love, which is what I like. I'm just trying to be at middle ground here, and I'll give it a 3.
All right. I agree with that.
All right. Emotion. Oh. This one. Out of 5, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
That was pretty good.
What do you give it, Cam?
The fact that I've played this quite a few times and I still cry. Just talking about the emotional parts of this game, I'm going to say that this is a 5 for me. I'm going to put it all the way up there because it's not specifically what's happening in this game. It's when the game came out and what's happening in the world that also affects the emotion of this game. And I'm going to stick to that.
I'm going to agree with you as well. I'm going to give it a 5 because there are I got waterworks going on maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I'm not really sure. I couldn't even keep count. We mentioned before, going back, it still makes me emotional. And yes, there's a lot of things with the time frame that it came out, but I think just in general, relationships with family and friends and how close or not close they are really got to me. So I'm giving it a 5 because I had some waterworks happen quite a bit. So story dialogue, how intriguing the story was, cutscenes were out of 5. And because it's about story and dialogue, it's out of 5 with great power comes great responsibility lines.
Oh, That's tugging on my emotions too, because Uncle Ben. But I would probably say the thing with the story, right? It really didn't shock me until the end. I said it in previous episodes. I kind of expected Finn to kind of be bad when we first meet Finn, or something to happen there, a complicated relationship, just as it's a common trope for Spider-Man stories. And just sometimes in the dialogue or the reasonings that characters are doing things, like Finn in that last fight, it feels like, you know, the team kind of at Insomniac knew that they had to have, like, for example, 4 phases of this fight. But the dialogue choices that they put in there doesn't really follow the reasoning that Finn was continuing with her plan, although she might have knew it would have exploded and caused damage to Harlem. So for that reason, I'm probably going to go, but then it's Miles and his mom. This one's tough. I'm going to give it, I'm stuck in between a 3.5 or a 4. Because although like I'm going to say it didn't surprise me enough, it still managed to keep me interested. See, I'm going back and forth. We're going to be here forever. Okay, you know what? I'm going to just settle with a 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I completely agree with that. I'm going to go with a 4, only because I really liked, again, the story is a little predictable. You kind of see where things are headed. And it can get stale from time, but I think just there's so much great dialogue with Rio, with Genki, with Finn, with Uncle Aaron. It's very real. It's very raw. It's very emotional. I related to it so much. And for that's why I'm giving it a 4, because I feel like the dialogue was there. Obviously, at times it could be stale. And there was no explanations for certain things, but overall, I think they did a great job with putting the story together, and they put in all the hits, regardless of if you think things are predictable. They put in the hits that make this game enjoyable. So that's why I'm going to give it a 4.
We're pretty much on the same page. Look at us, professionals.
I want to disagree with you on a lot of things, like how badly you think some of these suits are, but right now I'm agreeing with you.
I mean, the suit you like is pretty bad. 2020 suit's bad.
Gameplay, graphics, this is categories with how smooth the control was and how the game looked. And out of 5, we're going with I'm going to die Spider-Man 3 game memes. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to play the clip right now.
Help! Please! Someone! I'm going to die!
Firstly, that Spider-Man 3 game meme, I didn't even know about. Nick just told me about. I saw the clip. It's hilarious. That is, I didn't play that one, but it's hilarious. It's so good. Just keep it on repeat here. Let's just play that for the rest of the episode. But for gameplay and graphics, I mean, this game is beautiful. And I feel that why did you have to put them in the same one? Nick, the same category. This is tough.
If you want to split the categories up, you can. But I thought I was adding too many categories, so I bunched those together because they
so
were.
So you were like putting together. Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, the graphics are amazing. It's beautiful, especially when you're in the winter storm and you see the snow and the reflection if you have high fidelity and you're seeing the snow off the buildings like the Avengers Tower. Like the reflections just look so great. Sunsets look amazing. That's why, like, for graphics, I want to give it like a 5, honestly. The graphics are amazing. The game is so beautiful, even fight scenes, how they deal with that. But in terms of gameplay and gameplay mechanics, I think this is where I would have to score lower because, like we said, with the story and dialogue, the action, it's kind of like the same throughout. There are, traversing is amazing. Insomniac did the first Spider-Man. We know that was going to be amazing. But in terms of new mechanics there, other than the Venom power and camouflage, there's nothing really new, and I think that's partly because this is kind of like a quote in between game from the second game. So I'm going to say
Cam going off.
I know. I'm going to say this is supposed to be maybe like 3 minutes. I'm making it like 10. This is gonna be a 3 for me. 3.5. I'll do a 3.5.
Okay.
3.5.
All
Just
right.
because I have to take in consideration the gameplay.
So I'm gonna be a little less harsh on it. And I'm going to give it a 4.5 because I had no issues with the controls. I think they're really smooth.
Yes.
They are very simple. And for a simple man like Nicholas, I think I had an easy time with everything. So
Mhm.
I never had issues with camera angles. I never
You're
had
right, yeah.
issues with controls at all. There's a lot of other games that you have those issues with, and I never seem to find that as well. And then obviously the graphics is bar none. This showcases what the PS5 can do. And obviously it'll be better over time and the graphics will get better in games. But for right now, as the first game coming out of the PS5, I think this really showcased what it can do. The sunsets were just absolutely gorgeous. Just everything about it. The actual character models weren't as good, especially in like regular game settings rather than cutscenes. But overall, that's why I'm giving it a 4.5 with gameplay and graphics.
Okay, I agree with you, but I'm not changing my score.
No, that's fine. All right, now entertainment and enjoyment. This is just our overall. How many times did we get goosebumps? How did it make us feel? I know we did emotions, but this is more so. Did we ever get bored with the game? Were we on the edge of our seat most of the time? And this one is out of 5. Spider-Man 3 Dancing Peters. You know, the nice symbiote man with his nice moves.
I'm gonna give this one a. Oh my god. Okay.
You're having a real difficult time with this.
I am. I'm so indecisive by nature that when I have to score things, it's like I get stressed out. There's pimples that are going to start popping up, sweat dripping. It's not a pretty look. But I'm going to give this one 4 dancing Spider-Mans.
Love it.
Out of 5. Just because, you know, although I mentioned like the gameplay is kind of like the same. It doesn't really surprise you. It doesn't do anything shocking or difficult. It, like you said, it's smooth, right? And I think that kind of adds to the entertainment value of it, that you don't really have to think too hard when you're playing this game. You know what you're going to expect and you're along for the ride and it's enjoyable. And sometimes, yeah, you know, when you're doing like the generator missions, it does feel like, oh my God, when is this going to be over? But for the most part, you're at the edge of your seat, or at least leaning forward.
I agree. I'm going to give it a 4.5 here because they cut off excess fat from the first game. Nothing ever felt too stale. I was involved in everything at all times, and I just really overall enjoyed this game. I don't want to say overall because we still have our overall final ratings, but I'm going to give it 4.5 Spider-Man 3 Dancing Peter memes out of 5 because it was such a concise game, and it just made you feel a certain way throughout the entire game, and I really like that. Here we go. Our overall final rating of this game.
It's the final rating.
Drum roll, please, Cam. If you can, do your best drum roll.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding.
that was a horrible drum roll.
I'm sorry. All right. Here's your platform. Out of 5 after everything. I hope you calculated right with your maths and all your other ratings. What's your overall rating?
Okay, well, I wasn't doing the math, but I'm going to give it a 4. It's a really well-paced game. I think now, especially as we look at different games, the expectation is, oh, they have to be long. There has to be like a countless amount of side missions, you know, when we get a new game, and it has to be open world to some extent. But I like the sense that Miles Morales is shorter. I know people talked about it feels like a longer DLC rather than a full-fledged game, but I disagree. I think it is a full-fledged game. I think the story progresses. Like we said, it keeps you at the edge of your seat. It makes you interested in learning about these characters, not just Miles, but the whole world. And to me, as a game that's supposed to introduce a new hero coming to their own, that's exactly what the goal of the game is supposed to do. So it's a 4.
I got to give it a 4.5, and the 0.5 comes because it just made me... Into the Spider-Verse made me love Spider-Man again.
Yeah.
Actually, all these, even the movies, like with Tom Holland, I enjoy those ones. I like how lighthearted and kind of like a Ferris Bueller kind of movie it is. So I like that. And this one too, but this one specifically made me fall in love with Miles Morales and the story of Miles. It made me want to dive into the comics. It made me want to know more about his backstory, more so than Into the Spider-Verse did, because this one hit me on more of an emotional level than the movie did. So for me, that's why I give it an overall 4.5 out of 5, because it gave me just so many feels. It made me feel good. It made me wanting more, while also making me love how concise it was. And to me, it's almost a perfect game. That's why I'm giving it to this, because I think they really this could have been a failure. And when I first loaded it up, I wasn't expecting to get hit with what I got hit with. And that's why I love it so much, because it went above and beyond to what I expected it was going to be.
I completely agree with you. I think a lot of people jumped into this game. I'm just saying, like, this is kind of a game just to hold them over until we get that Spider-Man 2. But when you play it, it makes you it makes you see the potential of not just Spider-Man and where the franchise could go, but also Miles and where we could go with that character. After I saw Into the Spider-Verse, I would watch that movie quite often, just because I would want that feeling again from watching that movie. Because, like you mentioned, it's lighthearted, it makes you feel something, and it's just fun, right? And that's what I got from this game. It was just fun. That's why I kept playing it over and over again, and that's probably why the game is actually, it sold more than The Last of Us Part 2. And that's very shocking for a shorter game that I think a lot of people didn't expect much out of. And I hope, and I know Insomniac is looking at that and they recognize that. And hopefully we'll see Miles again.
That's a perfect way to wrap it up. And that's it for us on Miles Morales. Thank you for listening as we went through every single mission and every little side quest for this game. It was so enjoyable. You laughed, you cried with us. We cried more than you, probably. Next time we dive in to another game, you'll just have to wait and see. Next time on AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Camille Salazar-Hadaway and myself, Nick Andrade. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Seitzer. Executive producer, Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now, and if it happens to be Apple Podcasts, kindly leave us a rating and review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original, hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.
AutoSave.